Hello and welcome to the Made for More podcast, where we dive deeper into the everyday moments that shape our lives.
Each week, we'll share heartfelt conversations about recovery, resilience, and the little victories that bring us hope.
Join us for some front porch conversations as we explore the joys and the challenges of life, all while grounding ourselves in our faith in Jesus Christ.
Together, let's discover the truth that we were all truly
Made for more. All right, welcome back. Hey, tonight things may look a little different to you, and
out there.
Yeah, we're definitely trying some new things. So we got one podcast under our belts with audio, and of course, I start watching things on YouTube and see that, man, if you want to be successful and get your podcast out to more people, you need to be doing video. So hey, I just did a crash course on how to do a video podcast. And here we are. So we'll see. We've got a low budget
Zero budget.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. But anyways, yeah, we don't have the expensive cameras. We're filming with two iPhone 15s.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that I purchased was two studio lights. So with a bunch of videos being watched on how to set up your studio and how to be successful with your video podcast, well, here we are.
Here we are. You may hear our neighbor's dog bark or someone walk in the house tonight too.
Yeah.
You never know.
But I guess this is living in our household.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. So well, let's just go ahead and dive into this. We're going to kind of pick up from our mini monies that you guys might have heard. And with that, it kind of tells our story, a little bit of our story. But tonight we're gonna kind of expand on that a little bit, and we're gonna focus on like how God guides us through the trials that we have in our life.
Right, making our messes into more, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, it's really what we make out of those stories and out of those trials that God really is able to use our story, with him in it, that others can really learn from it and just hopefully be encouraged by it, and just think, hey, I've seen God work through Mark and Janelle with different stories and different trials. So I know that he'll work through me if I allow him. So really, starting off tonight with James chapter 1 and verse 2, and just to refresh your memory on that, it says, "Consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." So, really, James says that all. And, the joy that we get from our trials. And let's just stop there. How do we pull joy really from the trials that we go through? Because I'm telling you, whenever we were going through those trials, they weren't fun at all.
They were not fun at all. They were hard times for sure. I don't know. I think the joy didn't come maybe during that trial, but after the trial.
And just looking back on those, we'll dive into those a little bit more here in a little bit. But just looking back on those, they were not fun. There was a lot of lost sleep, a lot of worrying before we really surrendered everything to God for him to handle. And they were not fun during the time. But now looking back at them, it's like, man, how much wisdom and knowledge for different things that really came through those trials.
Absolutely.
Let's start with me here.
Let's start with you.
All right. Yes.
This is our Friday nights.
Yeah.
So we're winding down from a busy week again. And so this is what we do on Fridays.
Yeah, it's kind of our chill night. We just we come home. We'll usually cook dinner tonight. Janelle and I are empty nesters. All of our kids are getting their grown-up jobs now.
They are.
We'll leave it at that for now until we're ready to discuss them a little bit later. But Yeah, so we've raised three kids. We have one that's married, and my oldest has moved out. She's a children's director at a local church here in Central Ohio, and
We're just left with our youngest.
looking back, really on one of my biggest struggles that we had. Janelle and I went through three major trials, and one was when Chelsea, that our youngest, was diagnosed with cancer at 4 months old. You talk about a shock. Some of you listening have been down that road, have been through that trial, and still to this day, you may think, how did I get through that, or what didn't I do that Mark and Janelle did that they might have had a different outcome that I've had.
Sure. I think her trial came on top of another trial that we had just walked through, and we'll talk about that, of course, more. But those were challenging times. We were 13 years into our marriage, something
Yes.
like that. We call it the unlucky 13.
Yes, I was just about to say, that's the one thing that we looked back on whenever we relived, once we got through that journey, is we were like, wow, that was year number 13 in our marriage. Yeah, it was definitely different. But anyways, the other struggle and trial that I really went through is I had used tobacco most of my life. It started out whenever I was younger, whenever a teenager, and I was smoking cigarettes and just doing the crazy antic things that.
He was bad.
Yeah, I was. I admit that. I'm very open and honest with my kids that I drank a lot in high school, and I smoked a lot in high school. So yeah, and I'm open with them on that. So hopefully, they can make wise decisions and use, the things that mom and dad might have gone through to help with their journey or whatever, to use us as an example. But yeah, I was not a good boy in my teenage years. I got into just about everything. The one thing that I will say, I didn't get into drugs a lot. For some reason, I don't know what it was. I tried marijuana one time. I took one hit off of a marijuana joint, and something hit me whenever I did that. It's like, don't go down this path. You'll never come back from this. Don't do the drugs thing. Just do the alcohol and the smoking or whatever. And I was able to stay away from it. I never touched drugs. But yeah, I mean, nicotine is a drug. I'll give you that. But I should say, as an illegal substance, I never got into that. But the alcohol and the tobacco, I definitely hit hard. I wanted to quit so bad when Chelsea was going through her treatments, and I even remember talking to Chelsea's nurse and just saying, I'm such a hypocrite because I'm using tobacco, which causes cancer, and I can't quit. I should be quitting. I should use my strength or whatever that I have to be able to quit this, and I'm just not able to do it. And I was using Chelsea as a crutch for not quitting, because I would tell myself, no, I need this nicotine or this habit right now to help get
To
me through.
survive.
Yeah.
And all throughout our marriage, I mean, he tried to quit many times.
Can I tell the one story?
Sure.
Okay. What helped me to quit using tobacco was a prescribed drug called Chantix. And with Chantix, you get a lot of mood swings, a lot of night terrors. Although I don't think I ever got the night terror.
That, but
No.
the mood swings for sure.
Oh yeah. I fully admit that. Well, I remember once you come to the end of that prescribed time, they start to wean you off of the drug. And whenever I remember whenever I was off, and what Chantix does is it blocks the nicotine receptors in your brain. So yeah, you get nothing out of it. It's actually repulsive whenever you try to use tobacco being on Chantix. So I remember whenever I was coming off of the Chantix, I had been weaned off, and I was just jonesing so bad. And I know I was not being a considerate dad. I was, yeah,
Short fuse.
very short.
Temper.
Yeah, yeah. I remember going off a lot. Anything would just, yeah, set me off. But anyways, I remember I was pacing in the garage at our old house, just to try to get through this, and just because I think Janelle and I had just had a big probably argument or whatever is why I was pacing in the garage.
Probably.
And she opened the door, and I remember her saying specifically, I can't do this. You need to get in your truck right now and go to the store and get some tobacco. I remember saying, you got it. And I did that. And I remember whenever I started using the snuff again, smokeless tobacco, that once I got that initial off feeling, if you will, I remember feeling so bad, like you blew it, man. You had it beat and you just blew it. And I don't know how long it was again before I started trying to.
No.
So I want to say maybe a year or two later, I finally said, I'm going to do this. And really, to be quite honest with you, one of the things that helped me to do it was the fire department that I worked for. Part of the health insurance was they started giving you higher rates if you use tobacco. So those
He
of
likes
you,
to save money.
yes, those of you that know me know that I'm a tightwad. So I was just like, no way. So that was motivation enough to get on it. And yeah, the second time I was able to,
Successful.
yeah. But the thing that I realized after the first failure was, okay, these are the things that I tripped up on. These are the things that I need help on. And I remember even talking with Janelle. I'm like, I want to do this, but you got to be tough along with me. If I do have those short fuse moments, to let me know about it, so I can notice the triggers of what's setting me off, and just try to work around that. And I was able to do that. But I will say, with a lot more prayer and reading of God's word, really helped a lot for me to get through. And I'm not taking anything away from my family. My family was very supportive through that time. So I give them just as much credit as well. Janelle, talk a little bit about what happened to us before Chelsea was diagnosed with cancer. That I truly do believe that this helped us work through her cancer diagnosis.
Absolutely. I think so too. I don't know. I was the good kid growing up, didn't miss very much school, got pretty good grades. So it's funny how God put Mark and I together in the first place. And just looking back at our marriage in the early years, he got to climb the corporate ladder, if you will say, or the firefighter ladder. And I stayed at home with the kids. We had two at the time. And it was busy, busy, busy. He would be gone for 24, 48-hour shifts at a time. And it was a great career for him. But I shouldered a lot of the things at home. And I think I did well. I really think that I managed to, I don't know, take care of everything.
Definitely.
I think so.
The one thing that I really want to say there too is that it's another thing that I was able to work out through Celebrate Recovery, really, is my pride and anxiety that played into a lot of that. I was told at a young age, really, that I wasn't going to amount to anything. And so that like triggered me to overdo things, overwork things, or strive for a position. Because I remember telling myself as a young kid, is like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you that I'm going to turn out to be somebody. So I was so focused on me and worrying about a title and what that title labeled me as, that I really threw my family behind me and put my career above them.
But again, it allowed me to stay at home for 10 plus years. and raise our kiddos.
Yeah.
Which is a gift that I never ever regret doing. But we just went through life, and we didn't have extra. We had enough. We had a great house, and we would did vacations, and the kids went to dance classes and sporting events and things like that. But we just had enough money during that time. But one of the things that started kind of my spiral was September 11th. A clear blue sunny day, sitting outside with the kids. And at the time, I babysat for our friends' triplets. And, hearing that story and Mark saying, he was at work. So he's like, stay home and wait until we know more. And then the next day, he had to go to his second job. So he was gone during 48 hours of that. And reality sunk in, I think, and hit for one of the first times as, gosh, he could have been one of the firefighters, or, what happens if, right? So kind of that started my spiral into this depression. But a couple months later, I think it was in December of 2001, I had a miscarriage, and we really didn't tell anyone at all that we were even pregnant, and even less people knew about this miscarriage. Back in that time, we didn't have social media popped in your brain and in your phones at all times. I don't even think we probably didn't even have a cell phone then. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe the flip phone. I don't know.
I don't know. The big button jitterbug or something.
Yeah, it still might have been the bag phone at that time. I don't know. Yeah, you had to be rich to.
So, you didn't have 24/7 access to things online. So I just remember being at the doctor and telling me what I would prepare my body for over the next few months, but not telling me what to expect mentally those next few months. And, not knowing how to react to it. My friends hadn't gone through it. Family hadn't gone through it. I think the words were, are we good with this? Okay, we'll just get up tomorrow morning and start all over. But as time went on, that just weighed heavier and heavier, just not having a community to reach out. We had great friends, but I often compare my journey to the woman with the issue of blood that Jesus healed. She went around looking for friends, and she kind of wore out all of those relationships, seeking after advice and doctors and healing and things. And her friends kind of left her. Not that my friends left me, but I can think you can be surrounded by a lot of people and still feel very, very alone. So long story short, I didn't really tell anyone I was suffering from this depression, not even Mark, for 3 years. It was a long time.
And the thing about it that I was so foolish that I didn't notice this kind of stuff was whenever I came home, she put on that happy face. So me being the that I just wasn't paying attention enough to notice these kinds of things. I mean, whenever I was home, she was on her A game. Everything seemed normal. I came home, of course I was grumpy from being gone, either 48 hours working as a flight paramedic or as a fireman. So everything seemed normal. I never noticed anything.
I think it became easier to fake it because you'd be gone for 48 of those hours, come home, rest. We kind of have the afternoon and evening together, and then the next day we repeated that cycle. So it's easy to hold it together for a short amount of time. But while he was gone, that's when the world was kind of crumbling. That's when the isolation set in, even though I was still doing things, taking the kids to story time at the library, hanging out with friends after preschool, whatever. The evenings were long. The evenings were hard. Just remembering back to barely getting the kids bathed and cleaned and the house done. And even though he came home to a nice house, that was usually accomplished after everyone was in bed the second day that he was gone, and very quickly. So I could do that.
Yeah. So again, everything seemed normal.
Got pregnant with Chelsea, and we were excited.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. And still nervous and scared that the same result would happen. And still just going through the motions of normal days or whatever. But I think I found my coping mechanism in people pleasing during that time as well.
Yeah.
Just making sure everyone was dressed, for church properly. Lunches for him were packed. The kids had what they needed for preschool, and just giving that facade to other people so that I couldn't be found out or whatever. And just one of those coping mechanisms that I did was spending money and really not being able to keep up with our finances.
Yeah. Yeah. So through that trial, we lost our house. We got into some financial issues through that or whatever, and we lost our house.
So Chelsea was born in April the 7th.
Yeah.
And on April the 15th is when we had to move quickly.
Yeah.
So a 1 week old, that was hard to do.
So again, the
just the
postpartum things.
Again,
yes.
We were so excited she was there. We didn't know what we were having, a boy or girl, so that was exciting to not find out with number 3. But just the night before we lost our house, just trying to rearrange, like what they say, rearrange chairs on a ship that's going down, right? So 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing laundry, thinking, okay, I gotta wash clothes. 2 o'clock in the morning, like, okay, I could go ahead and pack this box or something. And I knew it was coming. Mark did not know that this was coming. So 3 o'clock comes and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm pacing. I'm got this new baby and everything. He's asleep. The other 2 are asleep. Like, what am I gonna do? And I finally just came to the end of it and drove to St. Anne's Hospital.
Yeah.
Got checked into the emergency room, but still that codependency was creeping in, and the doctor's like, I need to call your husband. He needs to come and be here with you. And I said, well, you can't. He's tired. He needs to rest. And, as I've walked through Celebrate Recovery, that was truly where my codependency started.
Yeah. Yeah. Just constantly really worried about me to take care of me. If, I remember her saying, I didn't want to wake you up. You needed your rest and you needed to be there. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the next day, the sheriff came and we had a great community of people that just loved on us.
Our church family at the time. No questions asked.
That's it. They just showed up. Yeah. What can we do? How can we help you? They stored furniture in garages for us. They got storage units.
Yep.
Everything. Mark's brother, both brothers were there. We stayed with his older brother for about a week.
Yeah.
But we landed the most amazing house in Westerville to rent for the next year, and I truly was a God thing. Yeah.
I remember, Janelle, that was her rock bottom, as we say at Celebrate Recovery. And I remember her coming to me whenever to explain all this that happened. And she said, I'll pack my clothes up and I'll pack the kids up and we'll get out of here. And I just remember through all of that, I was like, there ain't no way you're leaving. I'm like, I just lost my house. I'm not losing my wife and my kids as well, that I just remember hopefully that it was reassurance to her of, no matter how much I mess up, God still loves me and my husband does too, and he supports me through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said it once as it was I don't know, we were in the lower level of our house and our minister friend was sitting with us at this point because I did call him to come over, and Mark came down the steps and I told him and he just held me and hugged me and cried. And I often tell people it truly was the most amazing moment I think that we have shared.
Yeah.
It was true forgiveness and grace all at once.
Yep, for sure.
But we soon went back to the doctor, got some meds.
Yeah.
Got those regulated, started counseling. We had a couple of Christian counselors. We had one that we did together as a couple, one I did as an individual, and we were on that healing path. And then 4 months later, we got the news of Chelsea's diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
But God was truly, truly using that journey and that story to prepare us for the next phase.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I truly believe that. But in the Old Testament, it often talks about whenever you lose things and you're faithful to God or whatever, that you'll get a double return on the things that you've lost. I know Job kind of went through that at the end, but I love that story because it just came to me one day. I was reading, and I read that, and I'm like, Janelle, look at this. And this is after, we were able to purchase another house. We had moved in, and I just remember sitting there just looking, and it said, uh, your return will,
Right.
will be double of
Right.
what you lost. And I was just so thankful to God. And that's really where we devoted that house to God, and asked him to use it for his glory. Anything that happened through it, people that came through, if they needed a place to stay, what have you, that he would definitely use that. But everything that we had lost through that whole struggle, we got back double.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can say that with confidence that we did.
I think it's a sign of obedience too. There's
Yeah.
we could have gone a very different path, right? I mean, I know when we were forced to move that day that there were people telling Mark, I have a divorce attorney. You can give them a call. And comments were made, not from our church family, but
Right.
definitely from outsiders that were trying to help.
Yeah.
They don't know Jesus.
Yeah.
So that was their advice. Like, we can help you fix this.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, 2 Corinthians 12:9 really ties into this really well. That says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." And the way that I just say that is, "My grace is sufficient to you, Mark, for my power is made perfect in your weakness." So yeah, we drew a lot of strength from that, and really were able to turn a lot of the obstacles that we were running through, um, really just into hurdles that we were able to leap over.
They weren't easy hurdles, were they?
No,
Yeah.
those definitely were not. So that's why we always try to be supportive of people, and especially people that walk into the doors at Celebrate Recovery. But just for the courage that it takes for people to come to Celebrate Recovery. Now, remember, Celebrate Recovery is for any hurt, habit, or hang up. So what does that really mean? Hurt is a thing, obviously somebody hurting you, whether, something occurred to you as a child, or as an adult, as a hurt from a spouse or from a boyfriend girlfriend type situation. Somebody has hurt you, a work relationship, maybe even a church hurt, that you need to work through. And really, our hangups develop out of those hurts that we have in our life. So you start to do things to accommodate or get you through that hurt, and those lead to your hangups. And then obviously, like for me, my bad habit came through whenever I was a lot younger, just from somebody telling me that I wouldn't amount to anything. So.
Right. We have to remember there's no condemnation for us that believe in Jesus. We trust him, we follow him. There's, no condemnation. The world puts that on us.
For sure.
But Jesus does not.
So really getting back to where I was going with the Celebrate Recovery thing is the courage that it takes for people to be able to walk through that threshold. I've heard multiple stories from people that have come to Celebrate Recovery, and they're not sure what it's all about, what it's going to take, and people just saying, "Yeah, I started in for the church to walk into the church, and I turned right around at the doors and went back to my car and sat there for a little bit longer." And that's why we have people that walk in late, because they're looking for the courage to walk through the door. So we always have people there to greet them, to make them feel loved and welcomed. There's no questions whenever you walk in the door, because it's a worship service at that time. We're worshiping Jesus to prepare our hearts and work on our struggles that we're having. I don't know what the word was that I was looking for there, but yeah, I had one of those moments.
It's a beautiful moment.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what happens to my head nowadays. I get on that path just like this right now. I'm
Right.
going off on
Everywhere.
So, anyways, but Celebrate Recovery is able to help you through those, and whether you're struggling with a chemical dependency type thing, drugs, alcohol, something like that, sexual addiction, um, a um,
Mental health.
mental health, yes, and that is true. Our ministry in particular has been working on a lot of the mental health side of Celebrate Recovery and how we can support you. And that's the one thing that we really want to hit home is Celebrate Recovery is not in the business of healing you. We're not there to fix you, but we are there to walk alongside you, knowing that Christ is the great physician, and that through him, putting your faith and trust and surrendering that hurt, habit, or hang up that you're dealing with to him will allow you to work on and allow Christ to fix that
Absolutely.
struggle that you're having in your life.
God gives us a testimony.
Yeah.
And I think those testimonies change with our seasons of life and just what we're experiencing. But I think that the gospel doesn't change. Right?
No,
the
yes,
gospel never changes. God never changes. He's the same today, yesterday, tomorrow. But thankfully, we're the ones who can change.
Yeah. And just like us guys, God led us through the storms that we went through. He truly did.
Definitely wasn't on our own will.
Right. And well, the one thing that I will say that helped us and complete peace came over Janelle and I is whenever we got Chelsea up to the cancer floor, the J5 floor is what it was called at Nationwide Children's.
Distinct smell, and the soap is fantastic.
Oh yeah, the soap. We do. We always remember the soap that whenever we washed our hands, because we had to wash a lot on that floor. But anyways, whenever we surrendered, and I remember in the waiting room, just Janelle and I praying to God, the peace that came over us whenever we fully surrendered that situation to him is just something that, unless you've been through that, I don't know how to describe that. Right. But it truly was. We knew we were good because we told God, no matter what happens to Chelsea, no matter what happens to her, that he gets all the glory for that.
Are you going to cry?
Stop. So that's just one of those things that I just remember that was so good about that situation. So,
yes. And then we were able to minister to other families that were there. I think that was one big thing.
That's the one thing that we were able to do is the ministry that we brought to that floor for those kids that were just dumped.
Yeah, we were only 4 months out from like this healing process even beginning. We weren't fully healed. We were just getting the boxes unpacked at the new place and getting kids registered at school and things like that. It was midsummer. It was August. They were heading back to school and we get this diagnosis. And our community just walked beside of us, our family. My parents drove through the night to make sure that they were there. And the year that we spent, almost a year inpatient, we came home in between chemo times for just a few days.
Yep.
And then right back in. And we were isolated for 6 weeks during her bone marrow transplant. And just how we were able to talk to other parents. And there were kids that didn't have their parents around. And so I think So that's the one thing that we were able to do by surrendering to God's plan is really carrying his message on to others. And again, guys, this is where you hear so many times is you don't have to preach. People can see Christ through your actions and the way that you live your life. So just remember that whenever you're out in public, just by saying hello to somebody or, hey, God does love you. And, just like from the concert last night, we've seen the Newsboys last night is, that they say their 3 words is God's not dead. So guys, really tying this all back into
what really the name of the podcast is. We were made for more. You know, our stories reflect the truth that we're made for more than just surviving our struggles. You know, God's grace gives us a future that's filled with purpose and meaning, and we're called to live out that purpose by serving others. And I think that's really what Janelle and I surrendered to, is that service and being able to be there for others in their time of need.
Yes.
So guys, again, thanks for sticking with us through this. Until next week, thanks again. And just remember, you were made for more. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for joining us this week on I Was Made for More.
We hope you found inspiration in our discussions on marriage, recovery, and the life lessons that shape our journeys.
Don't forget to tune in every week for more meaningful conversations and insight. We can't wait to share this journey with you, so come back next time and remember, you were made for more.